Sounds spooky? Excellent radio, podcasts, and commercial-free hits. Classic Halloween playlists. Truly terrifying Halloween on iHeartRadio. Take us everywhere if you dare. Easy and free. This is Encore.
Cool.
The stories behind the songs.
Thank you.
Here's iHeartRadio's Miles Galloway.
As with every episode of Encore, I'm not gonna give up, I'm not gonna stop, I'm gonna work harder. I'm Miles Galloway, and this is the story of Destiny's Child's Survivor. You know, one of the best things about doing a show like Encore is learning some of the smaller, more inconsequential facts that come with researching artists and their careers. Previous examples being how Bruno Mars was an Elvis impersonator from the age of 2 years old, or that Adele's name is pronounced Adele, not Adele. For this week's episode, I'm just going to jump to the fact that I find straight up fascinating. How about this one? Destiny's Child was actually the 6th name used by the iconic girl group. That's right, before they settled on Destiny's Child, they were known by 5 other names first. I'm going to make you wait a bit before I reveal them, but I'm willing to bet that most of you were unaware of this. But before they were a group, the members of Destiny's Child were just young girls growing up in the city of Houston, Texas. One of the members, Beyoncé Knowles, might have heard of her, was a budding young star who was always singing and dancing from a young age. At the age of 8, she began taking dance lessons, and once her teacher heard her sing, she asked Beyoncé's parents, Matthew and Tina Knowles, if she could enter young Beyoncé into a school talent show. Unbeknownst to the parents, they had a future superstar in their home. Naturally, Beyoncé won the contest and kept going, later winning the Sammy Davis Jr. Award at another Houston-based talent show. Beyoncé then went through a series of auditions before she was asked to join a new girl group that was being formed called Girls Tyme. Time spelled Tyme, of course. At first, there were 3 members, including Beyoncé, Tamar Davis, and Latavia Robertson, but later they grew to 6 after adding Calendria Kelly Rowland, who was now living with Beyoncé's family, and sisters Nikki and Nina Taylor. The group of 8 and 9-year-olds got their start singing well-known pop and R&B songs at local talent shows. Eventually, a woman by the name of Andretta Tillman invested both her time and money in Girls Tyme, becoming their manager. The girls watched tape on iconic groups before them like the Supremes and Jackson 5, learning their dance routines and how to move on stage, and recording their performances to critique them. They would often practice at the hair salon owned by Beyoncé's mum, Tina, who would help them with their look and eventually design their costumes. Speaking to Much Music's Jana Lynn White in 2000, Beyoncé and Kelly explained why performing at the hair salon was so important to them.
Got sick of us after a while because we were up in there every Saturday. The main goal was to try to get to Astroworld. Because, of course, we perform.
That's Six Flags.
Exactly. We've basically been rehearsing all week long, and so I guess our test, we'll say that was basically our test when we went to the hair salon and we could get the routines right and get the dance steps right and get all the parts right. That was like our time, to get our rehearsal time in, basically.
We rehearsed all week, and then at the end, if we could perform it in front of the hair salon,
and do a good job,
and we were like, all right, now we can be rewarded and go to Astroworld.
In 1992, a producer named Arnie Frager took an interest in Girls Tyme, arranging a recording session at Plant Recording Studios in California and giving them what they thought would be their big break. An appearance on Star Search, a reality talent competition show you may remember from our episode on Aaliyah's Try Again. Introduced by host Ed McMahon as the hip-hop rapping Girls Tyme, the song they performed leaned more New Jack Swing. For a bunch of 11-year-olds, it was pretty impressive. The Girls Tyme lost out to some rather lame power balladeers, the returning champions Skeleton Crew. Following the loss on Star Search, Beyoncé's dad Matthew became more involved in the group. According to sources, he threatened to remove Beyoncé from Girls Tyme if he wasn't made co-manager alongside Andretta Tillman, who had been diagnosed with lupus, a disease that made managing a young group of R&B singers tough. Around that time, LaToya Luckett joined as the 7th member, but Matthew felt there were too many members of Girl Tyme, so he turned the group into a quartet that featured LaToya, Beyoncé, Kelly, and Latavia. He also set up a boot camp that consisted of dance and singing lessons throughout the summer, working with a model to walk in high heels, and get them media savvy to pull off interviews. He also made them sing while they jogged through the park, building up their stamina for future performances. And those came soon, with Girls' Time securing opening slots for more established acts like Immature, Drew Hill, and SWV, who took it upon themselves to mentor the young girl group. As things began to pick up for them, Matthew quit his job selling MRI and CT scanners to focus on the group full-time and try to score them a record deal. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, Destiny's Child underwent more than your average number of name changes before they finally reached the one that would stick. Girls' Time, of course, being the first, but then came Something Fresh, Cliché, The Dolls, and finally, Destiny, which was the name they used when they signed a record deal with Elektra Records. But that didn't come easy. Matthew was sending out promo packages to record labels while also setting up showcases for the girls to perform for record executives. One of them, Teresa La Barbera Whites, the head of A&R for Columbia Records, who did show interest but ultimately didn't sign them. But thanks to a production deal with famed R&B producer Daryl Simmons, Destiny finally got that all-important shot with Elektra in 1995. But it didn't last long. Months later, Sylvia Rhone, chairwoman and CEO of Elektra, decided that she already had En Vogue and that the label didn't need a second girl group. Destiny were dropped by the label, but as they say, when one door closes, another door opens. Here's Beyonce.
And the cool thing is, before we signed with Elektra, we had a choice to sign with either Columbia or Elektra, and we went with Elektra. But my dad maintained a relationship with Teresa, our A&R person for Columbia. So when she found out we were dropped, she was like, all right, now y'all can sign with Columbia. So we did a showcase for them, and they signed us. And then we started working on the next album, which took 2 years, which is a very long time. So we were 15. 14 when we recorded some of the songs. We went on the Men in Black soundtrack.
And changing their name was important in signing a deal with Columbia, so they looked to the good book for inspiration, and thus Destiny's Child was born.
We were Destiny when we were signed with Columbia, but there were so many other groups with the name Destiny. We added Child, which is like a rebirth, and we got Destiny out of the Bible. Because Columbia was like, listen, y'all want to sign, y'all need a name. Because we hated our name. It was terrible. It was The Dolls. And we were like, all right, what better place? The Bible. We opened it up. Picture fell out right there was Destiny. And we're like, all right. Then my dad wanted to make sure there wasn't any other groups with the name Destiny. So he went to get the name approved and everything. And it was like 50 other groups. So Child became Destiny's Child. We went on the Men in Black soundtrack, which did well. But a lot of people don't even know that was us on that.
With an album's worth of songs they'd recorded in Oakland with Dwayne Wiggins, a member of Tony, Columbia wasted no time getting the word out about Destiny's Child. One of the songs they recorded, Killing Time, was included on the soundtrack to Men in Black, alongside names such as the movie's star Will Smith, A Tribe Called Quest, Nas, and another R&B newcomer, Alicia Keys. Sadly, around this time, Andretta Tillman, the group's original manager, passed away from her battle with lupus. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to see the group take off, which they did later that year when Destiny's Child released their debut single, No, No, No. The song, which was almost given to teen singer Brandy, came out in 2 parts, with one featuring Wyclef Jean of the Fugees, and was a phenomenal success, reaching number 3 on the Hot 100 in the US. The group performed the song during their first visit to the Much Music environment in Toronto, where VJ Juliet Powell asked them what led to forming a group.
But why'd you decide to form a band as opposed to going solo?
I don't think any of us could be solo.
Yeah.
We've been knowing each other for about 9-10 years now. We've been knowing each other since elementary school, and we grew up together. We love each other. I couldn't imagine going solo. I don't think anybody could. It's just like sisters. They're a part of each one of us. Each one of us is a part of each one of us. So we really do love each other. We couldn't go solo.
Right. We all believe that we're destined to be together. That's how come the name is Destiny's Child.
Right. Destiny's Child's self-titled debut album arrived in February 1998, and while it didn't exactly do big numbers, the album would sell over 1 million copies in the US and established the group as a new artist to watch out for. Soon they were opening up for TLC's Fan Mail Tour across North America and winning 3 awards at the Soul Train Lady of Soul Awards. But the girls weren't entirely satisfied by what they had achieved. Beyonce would later tell The Guardian, The first record was successful, but not hugely successful. It was a neo-soul record, and we were 15 years old. It was way too mature for us. Destiny's Child wasted no time moving on to their next album, but changes were afoot. The first was their sound. They brought in the songwriting and production team of Timbaland and Missy Elliott, who at the time were reinventing R&B by taking it into the future. They gave the girls a song called Get on the Bus, a slick contemporary R&B song with the duo's signature sound of stuttering, kick drum heavy beats and rap singing vocals. Get on the Bus wasn't a hit for Destiny's Child, but it was a blueprint for them to follow for album number 2. In the writing process, the girls began to take more control of their songs, bringing in a number of producers to help achieve their vision, including Missy Elliott, Rodney Darkchild Jenkins, who had scored a massive hit with the Brandy and Monica duet The Boy Is Mine, and Kevin Shakespeare Briggs, who was just about to give TLC one of their biggest hits with the boundary-pushing No Scrubs. Destiny's Child were in good company, which helped them discover a sound all of their own. In July 1999, Destiny's Child released their second album, The Writings on the Wall. The title was given to them by friend Wyclef Jean. Kelly would tell Jet magazine, when we were looking for a title, we had that name and another. We asked Wyclef which was tighter. He said, The Writings on the Wall sounds really cool. Then he went into a story about Moses finding the 10 commandments on the wall. He said, add that to Destiny's Child's commandments of relationships, which will mean something big is about to happen. With its skittering quadruple time beats and stuttering vocal phrasing, Writings on the Wall turned Destiny's Child into superstars. But you know how these stories go. Just as the album was taking off, the group was falling apart behind the scenes. Literally. Before the end of the year, Latavia Robertson and LaToya Luckett wanted a new manager, filing a lawsuit that disaffirmed Matthew Knowles as manager for his, quote, greed, insistence on control, self-dealing, and promotion of his daughter's interests at the expense. There's no denying Beyoncé was becoming the de facto leader and face of Destiny's Child. You could see it in how she was being presented in promotional photos, and especially the album covers. On the first album, Beyoncé was positioned on the right, quite unassuming, yet on the Writings on the Wall cover, she was front and center, assuming her position as the key songwriter and lead voice of the group, earning her comparisons to Diana Ross's role in the Supremes. In an interview with Entertainment Weekly, Dan Workman, who engineered the album, revealed what the pecking order was in the group, saying, when we were doing The Writings on the Wall, it became really obvious to me that the heavy lifting was going to be done by Beyoncé and that Kelly Rowland was the closer. The other girls weren't as talented and were not as involved in the creative process. In response to the suit, Matthew Knowles claimed Robertson and Luckett were simply imaging more than talent, and so just like that, he replaced the two of them with Farrah Franklin and Michelle Williams. As harsh as that was, no one even told Robertson and Luckett. They didn't find out they'd been replaced until they saw the video for Say My Name on MTV in February 2000, featuring Farrah Franklin and Michelle Williams lip-syncing their parts. This being America, naturally, they sued Matthew Knowles and Destiny's Child for breach of partnership and fiduciary duties, seeking unspecified damages. The media picked up the story, which found both parties engaging in a war of words. The two ex-members would remove Beyoncé and Kelly from the lawsuit, targeting Matthew instead, and eventually the case was settled, with Robertson and Luckett receiving royalties for their contributions as founding members of Destiny's Child, in exchange for never, ever talking about it in public. Things were beginning to calm down as the girls were joining Christina Aguilera's tour in the summer of 2000, but then more drama ensued. It was announced that Farrah Franklin would be leaving the group after just 5 months. According to Beyoncé, Franklin was asked to leave after she missed multiple promotional appearances and concerts. Matthew addressed the media saying, Destiny's Child is going to be fine. We've done 3 or 4 shows already without Farrah and they've been phenomenal. Of course, there were 2 sides to the story, and Franklin claimed that she actually quit the group. She would later tell the Boombox, it was really management. They didn't handle things properly, is how I was feeling. I was 18 years old, so I didn't have that many people I could go to for advice and talk to. There were things happening that I didn't approve of. There were things happening that they weren't happy about. There were rumors put out that I was missing shows, and I never missed a show, ever. Despite Destiny's Child now being short a singer, the new trio were content with their new size. During an interview with Much Music's Nadine Ramkisson, the group expressed their excitement over now having 3 singers who could really sing.
Hey, you know what? The great thing about us being a threesome now, everyone can really sing.
Oh, no doubt.
And there's no other groups. Usually you have a lead singer or maybe even two singers, but now everyone can really sing, and that's just a good thing.
Beyonce throwing some shade. Ouch. In all fairness to everyone involved, I mean, I do think Destiny's Child works best as a trio. And I guess everyone else did, because once Farrah left the group, they really exploded into one of the biggest acts in the world. So I guess you could say that in order to get bigger, they had to get a bit smaller first. Beyonce elaborated on what it meant for Destiny's Child to be a three-piece in an interview with Much Music's Jana Lynn White, explaining how it took pressure off her to be the main vocalist in the group.
It's refreshing. It's wonderful, especially for me, because now it's like not as much pressure. And it's so cool because if somebody misses something, somebody's hoarse, and somebody's right there to pick it up. And everybody, it adds so much to the group when it's three people with their own personality and their own look and their own sound. But each person's sound is strong. So, like, her voice is really soulful and old school, and hers is real soft, beautiful, and sultry. And I do all the crazy runs and all that. So it's just really cool to get the three different types of voices and put them together, and they all complement. We complement each other so much.
Halloween on iHeartRadio. Sounds spooky. Excellent radio, podcasts, and commercial-free hits. Classic Halloween playlists. Truly terrifying Halloween on iHeartRadio. Take us everywhere if you dare. Easy and free.
By the end of the album cycle, Destiny's Child had two #1 singles in Bills, Bills, Bills and Say My Name, while Jumpin' Jumpin' would reach #3 and Bugaboo would be recognized for its boundary-pushing production. The Writings on the Wall would go on to sell more than 13 million copies and become one of the biggest R&B albums of all time. Destiny's Child were on top of the world, and they weren't about to stop. In October 2000, they released a song called Independent Woman Part 1, an empowering anthem recorded for the Charlie's Angels movie starring Cameron Diaz, Drew Barrymore, and Lucy Liu. That song held #1 for 11 consecutive weeks, becoming the group's biggest song to date and the Guinness Book of World Records longest-running #1 song by a female group. It still is, by the way. Looked it up just the other day. Not only did Destiny's Child kick the year off, holding on to the top spot of Billboard's Hot 100, they also scored big at the Grammy Awards in February. No longer a new artist on the scene, Beyonce, Kelly, and Michelle took home Grammys for Best R&B Performance by a Duo or Group with Vocals and Best R&B Song, both for Say My Name. While all this was happening, Destiny's Child were wrapping up the recording of their third album. Beyonce wasn't actually too pleased about rushing another album, telling Billboard, "There was not even 10 minutes between the albums," which I was kind of upset about at first. I felt like we needed a fair shot at making this record. We wanted a little bit more time to vibe the songs out and concentrate exclusively on the process of making this record. We didn't even have 2 consecutive days of recording. We did it completely on the fly. It was very hard, but it ultimately worked out well. It's a testimony to how close we've become as a group. We managed to have a great time working on this album as a team. Beyonce took over lead songwriting and production duties for the album, signaling the singer, songwriter, producer, and global superstar she would become just years later. Initially, she only planned on writing 3 songs, but she ended up writing and producing all 15 of them. Kelly would tell VH1, "A great thing is Beyonce is a writer and a producer. She'll open up the doors to younger female writers and producers." Here's a fun fact about the making of Destiny's Child's third album. The band ate so much Popeye's chicken, the restaurant gave them all lifetime membership cards, or so Michelle Williams claims. It sounds like they ate a lot of chicken making the album, as she would tell Entertainment Weekly, ordering a lot of Boston Market's rotisserie chicken, sweet potato casserole, and cornbread, while also snacking on chips, candy, and smoothies. Now that is how you do it. You'd think the album's lyrics were all about food, but this time around, Destiny's Child focused less on diamonds and champagne and more on the deeper things in life. Carrying on with the themes of strong, empowering femininity, they began with Independent Woman, which was included on the album in 2 parts. They wanted to make an album that spoke to the modern woman. Beyonce told Much Music's Jana Lynn White,
"Well, I know when you first come out, you have to be commercial and you have to get your songs played on the radio, and we did that with The Writings on the Wall. This album, now that people listen to what we have to say, we want to say something deeper than just pay my bills and say my name. And that's why we did Independent Woman, which meant something really serious, and congratulated women for being independent and strong and taking care of themselves and working hard, and all the single parents, all the young women, everybody that accomplished what they wanted. It celebrated that, just being a strong woman.
They called the third album Survivor as a response to a joke made at the expense of the group's revolving door policy, resembling the then new reality competition show, which, if you don't remember, had quite the water cooler moment in 2001. Speaking with MTV, Beyoncé said, "I thought about this joke that this radio station had, and they were saying, oh, Destiny's Child is like Survivor, trying to see which member is going to last the longest on the island." And everyone laughed, and I was like, that's cute, but you know what? I'm going to use that negative thing and turn it into a positive thing and try and write a great song out of it. And there was more to it than just responding to a jibe. The group extended the title to relate to any type of survival, whether it's enduring the hardships of being in a girl group and facing critics, or battling a terminal illness. They wanted their fans to claim it as their own, as Beyoncé would tell Much Music.
Survivor celebrated just surviving anything. If it's cancer, if it's AIDS, if it's just being a teenager, if it's going through losing your job or whatever, it just really makes you feel like you can work harder and accomplish anything. And with the whole album, that's why we named it Survivor. We go into child molestation. It was a young girl sent a fan letter to Destiny's Child saying she was molested by her stepfather, and we really, really helped her, because no matter what, we always smiled, we always were positive, we always knew that those struggles just made us who we were, and it just made us better people.
Destiny's Child released the title track from their third album on March 6th, 2001, as a statement. The song was written by Beyoncé, her father, and producer Anthony Dent, who originally made the instrumental for rapper Lil' Kim. But after hearing it, Beyoncé reportedly wrote the lyrics and melody for the song on a flight in between dates on their tour with Christina Aguilera. It would lead the way for the rest of the songs on the album, which inspired them to write about other ways to be strong and take control over your life. However, Survivor also didn't hold back with its message. The now three-member group took shots at their former members with lines like, "I'm not going to blast you on the radio, I'm not going to lie on you or your family, I'm not going to hate you in the magazine, and you thought I wouldn't sell? Without you, sold 9 million. And well, it cost them. LaToya Luckett and Latavia Robertson sued the group for disparagement, claiming the lyrics violated their previous settlement. But once again, the case was settled out of court. But despite that small setback, the song was an immense hit for Destiny's Child, both in the charts and in the lives of their fans. It reached number 2 on the Hot 100, staying there for 7 straight weeks, and won them a Grammy for Best R&B Performance by a Duo or Group with Vocals. Perhaps even more important was how their song was embraced and even adopted as an anthem for people to survive difficult circumstances in their lives. Michelle Williams told Entertainment Weekly, "We got fan letters that said, 'I've been bullied, but I put on Survivor before I go to school, and it takes the fear away.' The legacy of Survivor is sisterhood and empowerment." When the World Trade Center was attacked by terrorists on September 11, 2001, Survivor by Destiny's Child, still in heavy rotation at the time, was given a second life, becoming an anthem to help a nation grieve and show solidarity and strength. According to the group, the video for Survivor tested their ability to survive in frosty temperatures. Directed by Darren Grant and shot in LA in the dead of winter, the video sees the three members on a set like the reality show of the same name. They're crawling on the beach, walking through the jungle, and dancing in less clothing than one might want to at that time of year, thanks to Tina Knowles constantly cutting down their wardrobes to get skimpier and skimpier. The group told MTV News about the video shoot.
They definitely made sure that we were survivors. We gonna sing about it and talk about it.
They wanted to test us.
They wanted to test us. The water was so cold. We made it look like it was just hot outside. I know when Beyonce went out first, it was like 40 degrees, and to our understanding, it was the coldest day in LA history. So it was very, very cold, but the video turned out excellent. Darren Grant did a spectacular job, Darren. So, I mean, it was just a video full of strength and power, just as well as the song. We made sure that it was Survivor-based.
And of course, there were some bloopers.
Since we had so many water scenes, we had wigs that were styled exactly like our hair. So you can't tell the difference between when it's our hair or when it's the wigs, because we didn't have time in between the set because we had so many different scenes to dry hair and blow dry it again, curl it again. So whenever we had water scenes, we put the wigs on. Anyway, we had the helicopter scene. The helicopter comes close, and Kelly's wig flies completely off of her head. And we're running. They think we're running away from the helicopter because the sand is beating us. But we're running after her wig like, wah! And I said, my wig! It was so funny. It was.
But you would never tell. You could never tell because her hair was like
right
that
up
of the
under
wig.
there.
So,
and every time we watch the video, when we see that scene, it just cracks you up because all you see is just picture Kelly running
after her wig.
Running after that wig. And I was like, hold on, there's some extra air coming in from somewhere.
Michelle would later reveal on Good Morning America that the three of them basically had pneumonia after that video shoot and were sick for days. But I suppose it was all worth it in the end. The now iconic video won Best R&B Video at the MTV Video Music Awards. Of course, Destiny's Child are now but a memory, and Beyoncé is now one of the most influential human beings on the planet. What began as a hopeful audition for a preteen girl group in Houston eventually evolved into arguably the biggest girl group of the last quarter century. Survivor was one of their signature songs, not just a hit, but also a statement that empowered women and gave them the confidence to overcome any obstacle. There's a pretty clear line to be drawn from Survivor to Beyoncé's 2016 opus Lemonade, a deeply personal and diverse concept album that basically made her into a superhero. Who knows if she would have reached that level of confidence as a songwriter if she and Destiny's Child first hadn't come at their detractors with a song like Survivor. You thought I'd be weak without you, but I'm stronger. You thought I'd be broke without you, but I'm richer. You thought I'd be sad without you, I laugh harder. You thought I wouldn't grow without you, now I'm wiser. Thought that I'd be helpless without you, but I'm smarter. That's right. In 2001, Destiny's Child mastered the art of writing the ultimate takedown, which will forever live on as a testament to their greatness. I'm Miles Galloway, and that was the story of Destiny's Child's Survivor on Encore, with new episodes every Thursday.
Encore is an iHeartRadio Canada podcast. Subscribe to this podcast on iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts. Download the iHeartRadio app for more great podcasts just like these. Halloween on iHeartRadio. Sounds spooky. Excellent radio, podcasts, and commercial-free hits. Classic Halloween playlists. Truly terrifying Halloween on iHeartRadio. Take us everywhere if you dare. Easy and